Hi, and welcome back to Balance and Power, the World on Two Wheels, 1885 to 1995. Today, Chuck Gilchrist and I are going to take a wander through the world of two-strokes. And we're starting with this Lambretta scooter. Chuck, let's just talk about the two-stroke engine and what it means to the automotive world and to the motorcycle world.
Well, going back to the 1880s, Carl Benz invented the two-stroke engine and actually was the first patent holder on it. It didn't become a practical engine design for motorcycles up until Alfred Scott in the UK developed a liquid-cooled two-stroke engine that was used on his motorcycles and gave birth to a motorcycle that was near and dear to some of our hearts called the Scott Flying Squirrel. However, in time, four-stroke engines became more and more popular. They were a little bit more reliable. They didn't give off quite as much heat, and so that they lasted longer. But the two-stroke engine really was a performance-oriented and also a very simple and easy motorcycle engine to manufacture. And in the post-war era, that was one of the reasons why our friends in Italy developed a couple of different modes of transportation that focused on that two-stroke engine, one of which, of course, being the Lambretta scooter. And
the two-stroke engine, in addition to providing generally higher level of performance for the size of the engine, also did not depend on a certain quality of gasoline as well, with the mixture of oil and fuel. And especially in Europe after World War II, the quality of the gasoline was not very high, so the ability to actually get power and compression out of the oil-fuel mixture was really important to them too.
And a lot of the two-stroke technology came as a result of innovations in equipment like chainsaws and the like. They were very popular two-stroke applications because they were lightweight, they were very easy to start in cold weather, and as you mentioned, fuel quality, well, if you could put it into the gas tank, it would generally burn. However, two-strokes have a real disadvantage in that you have to add oil to the gasoline itself in order to provide lubrication. It doesn't have a separate oil pump or a sump that circulates oil through the engine. The oil goes in with the gas and actually comes out as smoke.
But they're very effective at also keeping mosquitoes down. So, another great benefit of the two-stroke engine. And so, from here, from the basic sort of scooter application to the next step, which is sort of taking the two-stroke and bringing it into a more fun and performance range, let's take a look at some off-road bikes that take great advantage of this great technology. From the Lambretta, we move things slightly up in terms of the performance stakes with this Husqvarna. Let's talk about this, Jack.
Off-road motorcycles in the 40s, 50s, and even in the early 60s were typically large displacement 250, 350, and 500cc four-cycle engines. Most all of them were British that were very successful in competition. However, some places in Europe started developing off-road motorcycles that would utilize the lighter weight and higher performance two-cycle engines. We had the Swedish company Husqvarna, we had Germany with the Mako, the DKW. They all started making two-cycle engines that would be specific to the off-road market. They, as I mentioned, they're lightweight. They had great horsepower to weight ratio, and the result was some very, very championship-winning motorcycles, such as the Husqvarna that we have here in the show, the WR430.
And the engine in this Husqvarna is the same size as the entire Lambretta scooter. So can you imagine sort of a muscle car with the Husqvarna engine put into the Lambretta body? What would that be like?
It would be challenging to ride off-road, I'll tell you that much. This particular bike was designed to compete in specific desert racing in the US Southwest. By the time that the 1970s rolled around, specific types of off-road motorcycles were being manufactured, be it for observed trials, desert racing, indoor motocross, outdoor motocross, and enduros or scrambles, which were becoming more and more popular. And back at that time, the Europeans were the bikes to have. The Husqvarna had a long, long run of success in international motorcycle competition.
So here we are with another great pair of iconic off-road motorcycles, this wonderful Bultaco and this great Honda. Let's talk about these, Jack.
Well, the Bultaco Sherpa T was a great example of a championship observed trials bike. Now, in trials, it wasn't a matter of how fast you could go, it's what kind of obstacles could you negotiate without actually falling over or putting your foot down. And that was the criteria for a trials competition. The two-stroke engine that Bultaco put into them, this was a Spanish-made motorcycle, was very, very tractable, had a lot of low-end torque, it had big flywheels, and so it could be ridden over rocks, stumps, rivers, even up waterfalls without stalling the engine. Because if you stalled the engine, you're going to have to put your foot down, and that would be one more point, or one more dab, as they were called, and that would hurt your chance of winning your trials competition.
Can we talk a little bit about the frame of this bike, which is quite interesting because it's clearly built for both lightness and stiffness. The way it's triangulated in a number of places, and also just the way it looks. It has the look of a Grand Prix racing bike of today, but still obviously built for strength.
It was built for strength, but it was also built for maneuverability. These bikes did have what they refer to as a steering stop, but you could turn the handlebars almost 90 degrees to the direction of travel to be able to negotiate some of those tricky rocks and trails. This particular bike also had a much, much shorter wheelbase than other off-road competitors that were used in desert racing or scrambles or motocross, because you weren't riding the bike that fast. You just wanted it to be able to finish the competition.
It's an absolute beauty. And for something completely different, talk about the wheel travel that's allowed on the front wheel of the Bultaco and that on this Honda.
Well, in 1973, Honda caught the bug of two-cycle engines as well for off-road competition. And they came out with their Red Rockets, which we have a 250cc Elsinore example of that particular style of motocross motorcycling. This particular bike here, its big claim to fame was 10.5, 11 inches of suspension travel. Unlike the trials bikes, these guys would also go over obstacles. The difference being is they would do it at 50 and 60 miles an hour and go flying through the air. And so when you landed, you wanted to be able to absorb some of that shock someplace other than your backside or your legs. So the Honda Elsinore was a real step forward for the Japanese in terms of entering into international competition for motocross. And they had a long, successful run with this. 1979, this motorcycle here, which is in absolutely perfect condition. I've never seen an older Honda motocrosser that is anywhere near as pretty as this one, is a real good example of what a late 70s, early 80s Japanese motocrosser was all about.
And I also love that here on the fuel tank is a wonderful notice. Normally we don't read these notices that are posted, but this vehicle is designed and manufactured for competition use only. It does not conform to federal motor vehicle safety standards, and operation on public streets, roads, or highways is illegal. So get off the road, have a fantastic, amazing time, but don't ride it home.
Well, this was also one of the very first series of motorcycles that Honda made here in the United States in their Marysville, Ohio plant, and they built this specifically for the US market, who in the 1970s and 1980s was motorcycle crazy.